He didn't take the blanket. Not at first. The massive figure stood rigid in the rain, muscles locked, as if expecting the fabric to explode. His breathing was shallow, controlled, the kind of restraint drilled into soldiers before combat. In orbit, Council observers leaned closer to their displays. Why is it not advancing? Unknown. Human civilian within lethal range. Clara didn't move the blanket away. She simply held it there, rain soaking into the wool. "You're freezing," she said softly. The creature's eyes flicked to her hands. No weapon, no tremor, no hatred, just concern. "You should fear me," he said. His voice rasped like metal dragged across stone. Behind her, Daniel stood in the doorway, heart hammering. Every broadcast had described this species as unstoppable. Planet crackers, fleet killers, living siege engines. But this one wasn't attacking. He was shaking. Lightning flared again, illuminating the scars more clearly now. Circular burn marks around his wrists and throat. Not battle wounds. Restraint wounds. Clara saw them too. Her voice changed slightly. "Who put those on you?" The question hit like a pulse through the creature's nervous system. No one had ever asked that. They'd only ever blamed him for what he did while wearing them. Above the atmosphere, Council command grew uneasy. Thermal scan shows abnormal stress response. It's destabilizing. Prepare contingency strike. The creature glanced upward at the clouds, at the ships hidden beyond them. "I was not permitted to choose," he said quietly. Daniel stepped onto the porch despite himself. "Choose what?" "To fight." Rainwater mixed with something darker along the creature's side. Blood, thin but persistent. Clara stepped closer, slowly, giving him time to retreat if he wanted. He didn't. "You're hurt," she said. "That is irrelevant." "It's not irrelevant to me." Silence. The storm raged around them, but in that small patch of farmland, something shifted. Clara gently draped the blanket over his shoulders. Every muscle in his body seized. This was it. The trick. The trap. The moment before pain. But it didn't come. The blanket was warm from the house. It smelled faintly like laundry soap and something sweet. Home. His hands that could crush steel, lifted uncertainly and clutched the fabric. Orbit-side analysts stared in disbelief. "It's accepting contact." "Impossible." Clara gestured toward the open door. "You can come inside." The creature froze again. He looked at the doorway as if it were a battlefield breach. "I am not allowed inside," he said. "Allowed by who?" He didn't answer, because the answer was everyone, every species, every world. He had only ever been allowed where destruction was needed. Daniel swallowed. "Mom." Clara met the creature's eyes again. "You're allowed here." The words landed differently than any command he had ever received. Allowed. Not deployed. Not ordered. Allowed. The creature took one hesitant step forward. In orbit, weapon systems charged to 70%. Human structure integrity insufficient if it turns hostile. "Hold fire," the counselor ordered, voice tight. The creature reached the threshold. He paused. Rain behind him. Warm light ahead. For the first time in his existence, he had a choice. And slowly, trembling more than during any war, he stepped inside. The house felt too small for him, too fragile, too warm. Water pooled beneath his feet as he stood just inside the doorway, blanket hanging heavily from his massive shoulders. The scent of cooked food, laundry detergent, and something faintly floral filled the air. Domestic, ordinary, unfamiliar. Daniel shut the door slowly, like sealing a pressure chamber. For a moment, no one spoke. The creature's eyes scanned the room automatically. Exits, structural weak points, improvised weapons. Training he could not turn off. Clara noticed. "You're safe here," she said. Safe. The word didn't compute. He had been activated at 14 standard cycles, fed nutrient-paced, conditioned through neural reinforcement, deployed against fortified cities, pulled back only when objectives were complete. Safety had never been part of his design. "What is your name?" Clara asked gently. He hesitated. Designations had been numbers. Operational tags. Kill squad identifiers. But before deployment, long ago, before the implants, there had been something else. "Kale," he said. Daniel blinked. "That's not very extinction monster sounding." Kale looked confused. Clara smiled faintly. "Kale. That's a good name." In orbit, Council analysts cross-referenced records. Designation confirmed. Bioweapon Series K, 7L. Alias translation approximates to Kale. Responsible for 9 planetary engagements. Footage flickered across their screens. Cities under siege, armored divisions collapsing, Kale at the center of chaos. They saw a weapon. Clara saw the tremor in his hands. "Sit," she offered, pulling out the sturdiest kitchen chair. Kale stared at it as if it were a trap. "It will hold," Daniel added quickly. After a long pause, Kale lowered himself carefully. The wood groaned but didn't break. Clara moved to the stove and poured soup into a large bowl. Steam curled upward, fragrant and rich. She placed it on the table in front of him. Kale leaned closer. "What is it?" "Chicken noodle," Daniel said. "Basic human survival staple." Kale examined it cautiously. "It is not ration paste." "No," Clara replied. "It's food." He dipped one clawed finger into the broth and brought it to his mouth. His entire posture stilled. Flavor hit his senses like an explosion. Salt, warmth, complexity. Not engineered sustenance. Not efficient calories. Care. His breathing hitched. In orbit, biometric scans spiked. Emotional response detected. That's not possible. It's a weapon. But weapons didn't close their eyes like that. Weapons didn't exhale like something inside them had just cracked open. "Why?" Kale asked quietly, staring into the bowl. "Why what?" Clara said. "Why am I here?" Daniel shrugged. "You looked like you needed help." Kale's gaze lifted sharply. "Do you know what I have done?" Clara didn't look away. "I know someone hurt you first." The words landed deeper than plasma fire ever could. Outside, thunder rolled again. High above, the council debated intervention. "He is integrating with humans. Unacceptable." But on a small farm in the rain, Kale, engineered extinction event, galaxy-wide nightmare, sat at a wooden table, holding a spoon too small for his hand. And for the first time since he had been created, no one was giving him orders. No one was running. No one was trying to kill him. The galaxy had labeled him monster, but it had never once asked who made him that way. The fleet arrived at dawn. No dramatic invasion. No warning shots. Just a silent distortion in the upper atmosphere as 12 galactic council warships translated into orbit above Earth. On every human screen worldwide, emergency alerts flashed. Unauthorized Council fleet presence detected. Threat level elevated. Inside the farmhouse, Cale felt it before the alarms sounded. His posture changed instantly. Back straight. Breathing slowed. Predatory awareness snapping into place like a weapon being reassembled. "They found me," he said quietly. Daniel looked up from the table. "Who?" Cale's eyes lifted toward the ceiling, toward the sky beyond it. "My handlers. In orbit, targeting systems aligned with terrifying precision. Council transmission broadcast across every frequency. Earth authorities, you are harboring an extinction-class bioweapon. For planetary safety, surrender the asset immediately." Asset, not person. Clara stepped closer to Cale. "You're not going anywhere." Cale turned toward her sharply. "If I remain, they will escalate." Outside, distant sonic booms rippled as Earth's defense grid activated. Hidden platforms rose from ocean depths. Orbital defense stations powered up. Human military command responded in under 4 minutes. Admiral Marcus Hale appeared on every channel, composed and unblinking. "Council vessels," he said calmly, "you are in violation of sovereign orbital boundaries." Council reply came cold and rehearsed. "You misunderstand. We are preventing catastrophe. The creature in your custody has annihilated cities." Cale closed his eyes briefly. Clara noticed. "You didn't choose that," she said firmly. In orbit, archived combat footage streamed into human command centers, devastation attributed to Cale. Admiral Hale watched it all without flinching. Then he requested classified Council files. The Council hesitated. That hesitation lasted 4 seconds too long. Human cyber warfare divisions breached outer archives, and what they found shifted everything. Neural override implants, command sequence triggers, forced deployment records dating back to Cale's adolescence. Silence filled Earth's command network. Admiral Hale's voice returned, quieter now. "You deployed a miner." Council response fractured across channels. "He was engineered. He was conditioned. He was necessary." Hale interrupted. "He was a child." On the farmhouse porch, Cale stepped outside. Clara grabbed his arm. "What are you doing? If they fire, I must draw them away." "You will do no such thing." Cale's jaw tightened. "I was built for this." "No," Clara said. "You were used for this." Above, weapons systems charged. Below, Earth's fleets aligned in perfect defensive formation. Human fighters lifted into the sky, forming a shield rather than an attack wedge. Admiral Hale transmitted one final message. "Council vessels, you will stand down. And if we refuse?" Hale's expression didn't change. "Then you will learn something every species eventually does." A pause. "We do not surrender refugees." In the yard below, Cale stood behind Clara, not in dominance, not as protector of territory, but as someone refusing to let harm come to the first person who ever showed him kindness. The Council hesitated, because extinction weapons did not hide behind mothers. And suddenly, they weren't sure who the real danger was. The drones refused to descend any lower. That alone told the galaxy how afraid they were. Rain hammered the farmland outside a quiet human settlement in the American Midwest. Lightning split the sky in violent flashes, illuminating a shape standing motionless at the edge of a wheat field. 8 feet tall. broad enough to block the farmhouse lights behind him. Not moving, not attacking, just standing there. Orbiting high above Earth's atmosphere, 3 galactic council cruisers held weapons hot. Targeting reticles hovered over the figure below. Analysts whispered across encrypted channels. Confirm visual. Confirmed. Species identification. A pause. Then, quieter. It's one of them. Across 12 star systems, his kind had a single designation in council records. Extinction class bioweapon. Entire cities had fallen when one had been deployed. Defense fleets shattered. Casualty reports sealed. No one negotiated with his species. They survived it. Or they didn't. And now one stood outside a human farmhouse. Alone. The rain rolled down his armored grey skin, tracing old scars that told stories no one had bothered to hear. Plasma scoring. Blade marks. Shock collar burns around his wrists. He did not roar. He did not advance. He just stood there, shivering. Inside the farmhouse, Clara Bennett was drying dishes when the emergency alert flashed across her kitchen tablet. Galactic Advisory. Do not engage unknown extraterrestrial entity. Remain indoors. Await military response. She frowned. Through the rain-blurred window, she saw the silhouette near her fence. Her 17-year-old son, Daniel Bennett, stepped into the kitchen. "Mom, that's the thing from the broadcast." Lightning struck again. For half a second, the creature's face became visible. Not snarling, not hunting. Eyes wide. Scanning. Lost. In orbit, Council Command debated immediate orbital strike authorization. Humans are unaware of the threat level. They will learn. Deploy containment teams. But something unexpected appeared in their satellite feed. The farmhouse porch light turned on. Clara stepped closer to the window. She didn't see an extinction weapon. She saw someone standing in freezing rain without shelter. Daniel swallowed hard. "Mom, that thing can rip through armored transports." Clara didn't answer. She grabbed a thick wool blanket from the hallway closet. In orbit, alarms spiked. Human civilian exiting structure. Repeat, civilian approaching bioweapon. Should we intervene? The creature noticed the door opening. His muscles tensed automatically. Conditioned response. Assess threat. Neutralize threat. But no weapons were raised. No soldiers emerged. Just a middle-aged woman in slippers, stepping into the storm. The rain soaked her instantly. She stopped several feet away from him, looking up. He was enormous, built for destruction. His voice came low and distorted, unused to soft tones. "You should not be here." Clara studied the shackling scars on his wrists, the tremor in his shoulders, the way he kept glancing toward the sky. "Are they chasing you?" she asked gently. The question hit him harder than artillery ever had, because no one had ever asked that before. Lightning cracked again. For a moment, the galaxy held its breath, and Clara Bennett did something no military strategist predicted. She stepped forward and held out the blanket. The first Council warship powered down its weapons. Then the second. Then all 12. It wasn't fear of Earth's fleets that stopped them. It was the data. Human cyber divisions had already released the files across secured diplomatic channels. Neural override schematics. Forced deployment logs. Psychological conditioning reports. Kale had not been a conqueror. He had been conscripted at creation, designed in a laboratory, activated before maturity, deployed without consent. The galaxy had called him monster. The evidence called him manufactured. In orbit, silence replaced threats. Admiral Marcus Hale spoke one final time. "You created a weapon. You used a child. And when he survived you, you labeled him an abomination." No one on the council argued, because they couldn't. On the farmhouse lawn, the tension in Cale's shoulders slowly eased as the warships shifted into passive formation. "They are withdrawing," Daniel said, staring at his tablet in disbelief. Clara let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. Cale remained still, eyes fixed on the sky. "They will not stop fearing me," he said quietly. "Fear takes time to unlearn," Clara replied. "So does prejudice." Within 48 hours, an emergency galactic council session convened. Human representatives presented a formal proposal. Engineered sentient life forms possess full sovereign personhood. It was radical. It was disruptive. It passed. Not unanimously, but decisively. For the first time in recorded galactic history, bioengineered weapons were legally recognized as individuals, not assets. Cale's designation was erased from active threat registries. His name was entered instead. Protected status. Independent citizen. On Earth, life settled into something almost ordinary. Almost. Cale learned that doorways required ducking. That baseball gloves tore easily in his grip. That soup tasted better when shared. News networks replayed the farmhouse footage endlessly. The moment Clara stepped into the rain, the moment Cale accepted the blanket. Across dozens of systems, opinions shifted. Slowly, cautiously, but undeniably. Weeks later, another storm rolled over the farmland. Cale stood at the same doorway where everything had changed. Rain tapped softly against the roof. This time, he was inside. Clara joined him. "You're thinking too loud," she said. He glanced down at her. "Why did you open the door?" She smiled faintly. "Because someone should have." He studied the rain for a long moment. "I was built to end civilizations." "And?" Daniel called from the couch. "Now you help fix barns." A strange sound escaped Cale's chest. It took Clara a second to recognize it. A laugh. Soft. Uncertain. Human. High above Earth, the last council vessel completed its departure jump. Not in defeat. In correction. The galaxy had feared him, hunted him, defined him by his worst moments, moments chosen for him. But one human mother had done something no fleet ever attempted. She asked a question. She offered warmth. She opened a door. And in doing so, humanity taught the stars a lesson far more terrifying than war. The strongest species in the universe is not the one that builds the deadliest weapons. It is the one that sees a weapon and chooses to call it family.